every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on CoreTV News at 7. I am Epulomo Adekunle. A member of the Senate from Imo State has admitted that the lawmakers were hasty in castigating the Imo State government over an alleged plan to issue ID cards to Northerners. Hope Uzodinma told State House correspondents that an investigation should have been done before a decision was taken.
We have no reason not to believe what he has said, and there is no discriminatory policy. That is very important because of our national interest and unity. We don't have to discriminate about people residing wherever they want to reside in Nigeria. Once you are a citizen of this country, you are qualified, you are eligible, you are free under the law to decide to settle in any part of the country and go about your businesses without fear of molestation. So on that note, I think we've put that behind us because at the end of the day, it is very clear that nobody is going to intimidate anybody or discriminate against anybody. However, the rumor making rounds that some people or some state governments under the indigenship law trying to also discriminate should be looked into, so that what is good for the ganders will also be good for the goose.
Strike actions have recently been frequent in Nigeria. Different workers' unions have resorted to the option of strike to resolve disputes. The most recent is the strike action embarked upon by resident doctors nationwide. A legal practitioner, Oluwashiji Akisoinu, condemned the action of the resident doctors, saying strike is not the best option.
Strike is not the ultimate means and the game changer to solving industrial actions. To me, it's more like you have to have a roundtable discussion. A roundtable discussion in the sense that you have what they call alternative dispute resolution to solving all these disputes with the federal government. They should have what they call more like a dialogue, kind of a dialogue. Because if you have dialogue, at least it saves a lot of things now. For example, now, if you look at some hospitals now, you have some inward patients there who are critical, who are in the critical situations. Now, what happens to them? Now, if the doctors go on strike, what happens to those patients? They will not be cared for. Some of them, they die in the process. Now, would the doctors now say it's the strike they have with the federal government that led to those patients' deaths?
Advised the resident doctors to seek alternative means in settling industrial disputes.
The solution there is that they should have a doctor on standby who will be taking care of those patients. They should not just let them die because they have a problem to settle with them. They have scores, let me use that language, to settle with the federal government because they did not honor the agreement of 2013. Because this is not the first time doctors are going on strike. Now, what do we say about this now? Are we now trying to say that government is not sincere? Government not being sincere? Are the resident doctors themselves, so are they sincere? This is not the first time they're going to strike. Neither is it the second or third time they're going on strike. Now, if they're going on strike, are they being sincere? Are their goals, their objectives on going on this strike being sincere? Because if they go on strike and they call it off and they reach an agreement with federal government, they'll still go on strike again. Now, why are they going on strike? Why these incessant strikes? The people who will suffer are the patients who are in the hospital. Some of these patients cannot afford the bills and fees of the private hospitals, and the general hospital is their last hope, where they can get subsidized medical fees to take care of their loved ones who are sick, injured, or even on the death row, as it were. Now, going on strike, what would that solve?
Meanwhile, poor funding of the health sector and the inability of the federal government to harmonize various divisions in the sector have been pointed out as the basis for the strike embarked upon by the Nigerian Medical Association. Chief Medical Director of the Federal Medical Center, Ido-Ekiti, in Ekiti State, Lawrence Ayodele, says resident doctors are not happy with the way they are being treated by the federal government. This, he added, informed their refusal of entreaties, even by journalists on the development.
But believe me, there are some things that are fundamentally wrong. If you have the privilege of, knowing what is going on in other parts of the world, so why can't you borrow some of their policies, so that, there can be sanity, in the health sector. Now we're talking about NMA today. Tomorrow is going to be Joesu, and next tomorrow is going to be another one. So when are we going to get out of this? I think government will have to, go back to the drawing board and see what can be done, to harmonize, the health sector and even some other non-health sectors.
While expressing sadness over the strike, Ayodele called on the federal government to design a harmonization process which will bring all direct actors in the health sector together in the formulation of grand policies that will resolve the problems.
Introduction now. First of all, thank you very much. Doctors are not happy with some of the things that are going on in the country. You mentioned that they are resident doctors. They are training, and they are not permanent staff. They have probably 6 years maximum to spend in the system here, except if they are going to be lucky, to be absorbed as permanent doctors. Having that at the back of their mind, that they are temporary staff, they want all their benefits, given to them. And that's where things are going wrong. They are resident doctors. They want funding of all the programs that they are doing.
United States Ambassador to Nigeria James Nswissel says the country is the largest recipient of the U.S. President's emergency plan for AIDS relief in the world. Nswissel made this known at a reception to celebrate the 238th anniversary of U.S. independence in Abuja on Friday night. According to him, Nigeria is receiving $458 million support each year to help prevent diseases such as malaria. He said a large portion of the money was also used to treat and help prevent diseases such as tuberculosis and HIV and AIDS. The ambassador used the occasion to highlight U.S. priorities and commitment to peace, security and rapid development in Nigeria. On development, he said the strong presence of the U.S. Agency for International Development in Nigeria had yielded positive results, particularly in the area of infrastructure and agriculture. He also reiterated the U.S. deep commitment to free, fair and credible elections in Nigeria ahead of the 2015 general elections. The Osun State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has accused the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate Iyolo Mishore of employing services of a masked suspected terrorist in his campaign trail with the intention of intimidating the electorate. The APC says Omishore was spotted during his campaign trail closely guarded by the armed suspected terrorists. The party noted that while President Goodluck Jonathan was fighting terrorists in the north with Nigerian soldiers, his party man was hidden behind security cover to intimidate the electorate. The APC, in a statement, called for a full-scale investigation by the security agencies into Mishore's use of masked armed guards. The party also says it heard, on good authority, that the PDP had brought in bills of fake police uniforms with substantial arms into the state with the intention of replicating the scenario of Ekiti State. The APC added that Nigeria and the democratic process are in terrible times as the August 9 election approaches. According to the APC, the theme of Omishore's campaign so far has been arrangement has already been made to remove Aregbesola from office no matter what he is doing. Following directives of the Adamawa State House of Assembly, the acting chief judge of the state, Ambrose Mamadi, has approved the appointment of a 7-man panel to investigate allegations of gross financial misconduct leveled against Governor Murtala Nyako and his deputy, Bala Nglari. The panel has been given 7 days from the day of swearing in to investigate the allegations of financial gross misconduct against the governor and his deputy. Buba Kegama will be leading the committee as chairman, while Laraba Hassan, Njida Kitu and Joshua Abu will serve as members. Others include Binanu Estin, Saat Lawan and Estin Gapsisu. The swearing-in dates will be communicated later. If found guilty of the 20-point allegations of financial fraud and mismanagement, the lawmakers will proceed with the impeachment move on the governor and his deputy. You're watching CoreTV News at 7. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back with more stories. Don't go away.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
CoreTV News presents a platform with presence in over 30 states of the Federation. Be sure to be had. For live coverage of events, we have the capacity to deliver from anywhere in Nigeria and beyond. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 014-533-407.
Our 24-hour news station.
Thank you for being there. Delegates at the National Conference have made a recommendation for an additional 18 states to be created. If that is done, Nigeria would end up having 54 states. But not many people in Abuja are comfortable with the position of the National Conference, as Pius Samuel reports.
The clamor for the creation of more states is not new in Nigeria, but the National Assembly had over the years been reluctant to push it through. And now that the National Conference has recommended it, the move is generating mixed reactions in the polity. Some Nigerians say security should be taken care of first before state creation, while others are of the opinion that it will bring democracy and development closer to the people.
It is a welcome development to this country. When I read it this morning, my thoughts go to the splitting of this country, because if definitely we are going to have 18 countries, the back end of it shows that maybe the country may be divided. That's my opinion. So I think, to me, I'm not in support of 18. There should be additional, not up to 18. If they can zone it based on the geopolitical zone, maybe 2 or 1 in each state, is a welcome development. But up to 18, my thought towards it is after that, it may lead to the division of this country.
I don't think creating of additional states is as important as having peace in this country. What I want is peace, and let the people, our administrators, the people in government, let them do the right thing. If you give me what is due to me, I may not need to agitate for any extra states.
My own fear is some states might not have the revenue generation, and they will fall back again to the federal government revenue. That is only my fear. I'm in support of giving Southeast more one state so that the whole geopolitical zones will be equal.
This woman is quite emphatic in her opposition to additional states. She doesn't think that's what Nigeria needs now.
We read where a governor's wife is now giving farmers, market women, designer perfume. When they are hungry, there are issues we should look at before we start agitating, because you agitate for more states, you agitate for more local government, you agitate for more wards, and those on ground are yet to be developed.
But in spite of the different shades of opinion, the consensus among Nigerians is that whatever will ensure peace and development in the country is desirable. Pius Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
More reactions have been trailing the proposed creation of 18 states endorsed by the National Conference in Nigeria. A legal practitioner, Lekon Alabi, condemns the action by the National Conference, saying they do not have the power to create states.
The power to create states squarely lies in the National Assembly. I believe that the creation of state is not our need now. Our need is how to make the state that you have already had to be viable, so that the state will not go to Abuja every month at the end of the month to collect their peanut to run the state. And I believe that the purpose of the creation of state is to serve as a conduit pipe for the satellite of the concentration of power to manipulate the resources of the state.
Ajike Chude, a public affairs analyst, also believes that the creation of states is not what Nigeria needs now.
I think that the National Assembly is not in sync with reality, and they are not in sync with the mood of the nation, and they are also not in sync with what would appear to be the groundswell of opinion in the country. So I do not think it's a very good position taken by the National Conference. It just clearly tells you that some of these people are not in sync with the rest of the country, and like I said, the mood of the nation.
The rise in violence against women in Ekiti State, particularly rape and domestic abuse, has called for worrying concern. Against this backdrop, a sensitization program for women to speak up against violence and approach constituted authorities was put together by a group of women lawyers in the state. Ekiti State correspondent Rashid has more in this report.
According to the statistics of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, Ekiti State chapter, the index of rape and violence against women in 2013 is higher than armed robbery and murder put together. Even after the election of June 21, the ugly trend has continued to rear its head, hence the sensitization for women to know their rights under the law.
Ever since the elections, we've had women come to us to say that some men have started, they have resumed beating their women again and saying that Governor Fayemi is going, that now they can do whatever they like. I want to use this opportunity to put to our men in the Ekiti State that governance is a continuum. I want to especially appeal to them that if there's anything that Governor Fayemi has done, is to make sure that everything he did was done within the legal framework.
As a woman who has seen it all, the former president of National Council for Women's Societies, Nike Obatayo, admonished women to approach the court in the face of any violence. She added that the court is meant to settle matter and not to aggravate it.
The last resort is the court. Because
the guest speaker, Sheyi Ojo, condemned the alarming rate of rape and violence against women and charged them to take their destinies in their hands.
The number of rape cases we had in Ekiti State surpassed that of armed robbery and murder put together. And this is a very alarming number. Women are being offended against day in, day out in our society. And it is high time we should all come out to speak against this. It is high time we should fight it. We should say no. Women should not be predated upon.
Meanwhile, the Female Lawyers Association has commenced a free legal service for indigent women seeking justice against abuse. The pro bono, which is to run for the next 9 months, will help those in need mitigate the cost of legal process. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado Ekiti.
We'll take another break now, and when we return, it will be stories from outside Nigeria. Stay with us.
CoreTV News now provide a platform for live coverage of political rallies and electioneering campaign from anywhere in Nigeria. Political news stories, political editorial reviews, political discussions, personality profile, People's Parliament from the National, State and Local Government Assembly. Contact us now on 0803-471-8550 or 0803-724-9733. 01453-3407.
Our 24-hour news station.
Nigerians continue to the city of Lagos once again.
Be the first to know. From the north, south, east, west, and around Africa, we break the news.
One Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are CoreTV News.
Welcome to CoreTV,
our 24-hour news station.
Thank you for being there. Police and witnesses say several people were killed when a powerful suicide car bomb exploded near Somalia's parliament in the capital city of Mogadishu. Al-Qaeda-linked Shabab rebels have, however, claimed responsibility for the bombing, which is the latest in a surge of attacks during Islam's holy month of Ramadan.
The car loaded with explosive was intercepted near the parliament and went off. There were casualties according to the police official Muhammad Ilu, who confirmed the suicide bomber was in the car. Witnesses at the scene also claimed 3 police officers and the suicide bomber died in the blast. They added that they saw the dead bodies of the 3 police and the severed body parts of what looked like the suicide bomber under the wreckage of the detonated car. The police later sealed off the area and ordered the civilians to leave. Several other witnesses say they saw ambulances taking away the wounded, most of them civilians collected from the scene of the explosion. They stated that around 9 wounded persons were carried out of the attack scene. The Shabab, who carried out frequent attacks against the parliament and all the centers of the Somalia fragile international-backed government, says its members were responsible and vowed more attacks will follow. Militants from the Shabab had last month sent off a car bomb at the gates of the parliament and then stormed the building, while the members of the parliament were meeting in an attack that left several dead. At the time, a Shabab spokesman described the parliament as a military zone and a legitimate target. The group also claimed responsibility for recently shooting a dead lawmaker and his bodyguard. The hardline Shabab insurgent was controlled by most of the southern and central Somalia, including large parts of the capital, but were driven out of the fixed positions in Mogadishu and Somalia's major towns by 22,000-strong African Union force.
In Afghanistan, Taliban militants have set fire to dozens of fuel trucks, which they claimed were supplying foreign troops in Afghanistan in an attack on the outskirts of Kabul. The fire, triggered by a bomb, set ablaze tankers waiting to enter the city in a parking lot west of the Afghan capital overnight. However, no casualties were reported as firefighters tried to control the fire. Here are the details.
Gal Agan Kashimi is the crime investigation director of Kabul police. He says it was a magnetic bomb that caused the fuel tankers, which added belonged to private companies, to catch fire. It was not clear whether the trucks were supplying fuel to a NATO-led international security assistance forces, whose spokesman says they are looking into the incident to determine if any of the fuel destroyed in Kok-e-Agandi was intended for use by the ISAF forces. The Taliban militants, who have been regularly attacking Western supplying convoys in Afghanistan, claim the responsibility. They have stepped up the attacks recently as the NATO forces complete the withdrawal by the end of this year. The insurgents had recently fired rockets into Kabul airports, destroying the Afghan president's parked helicopters and damaging 3 other choppers. The Afghan capital has been relatively peaceful since the presidential election on the 14th of June, though there have been street demonstrations as politicians are locked in a dispute over the vote fraud. All NATO combat troops will leave Afghanistan by December, with about 10,000 U.S. troops staying into next year if the new president signs a security deal with Washington.
And that's all we have for you on the news for this hour. Join us again at 9:45 for the primetime news. Thank you for watching. I am Epunlomo Adekunle.